Good evening. The government remains optimistic that the Express Rail Link can be financially sustainable without outside help. Meanwhile, the MTR Corporation will hold open days at the high-speed rail link's West Kowloon terminus early next month, and all 20,000 tickets were distributed this morning. Caleb Long has more details.
The West Kowloon station is almost ready to enter service. That's as the local section of the Express Rail Link is due to commence operations on September 23rd. There is the departure concourse and a waiting room. Going down one level, and there are the train platforms. The government is expecting a daily passenger flow of 80,000, enough to sustain the rail link. The chance that the rail link will incur a loss is minimal, and discounts may be offered if passenger numbers fall short of expectations.
I would expect the MTR would liaise very closely with our counterpart in the mainland to suitably adjust the fare in a timely manner so as to make the best use of the high-speed rail.
Unlike the MTRC's other railway lines, there are currently no penalty mechanisms in the event of service delays on the Express Rail Link. The transport chief only said the government will closely monitor the situation when service commences. He also expects the MTRC to be transparent when it comes to rail safety.
I would expect the MTR to timely and openly report to the public and to the government if there is anything they found a little bit unusual or not in order, because that's the expectation and aspiration of the Hong Kong community as well as the government.
Meanwhile, lines of people were waiting for tickets to visit the West Kowloon terminus when it holds open days on September 1st and 2nd. The rail giant began distributing the tickets at 9 a.m. today at 5 different MTR stations, including here at Hang Fa Tsuen. All 20,000 tickets were gone within 2 hours. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
Sources say another case of dengue fever has been confirmed on Cheung Chau. That's brought the total number of locally contracted cases so far this year to 25. As Kena Chu reports, the Center for Health Protection does not rule out the possibility of an eventual epidemic.
Empty streets and quietness. These uncharacteristic scenes of Cheung Chau Island could be attributed to the recent dengue outbreak. The record-breaking number of locally contracted cases comes from 2 main sources, the Lion Rock Park and Cheung Chau. With Cheung Chau cases piling up, the controller of the Center for Health Protection says the public should remain vigilant as dengue may become an epidemic.
Yeah, the evolving situation in Cheung Chau is a bit worrisome. We expect more cases to come up in the near future. I think the most important thing is still to have prompt and extensive anti-mosquito activities.
He also said while there is currently 1 licensed vaccine for dengue globally, it isn't applicable to Hong Kong at this time.
In say, over 70% of the population has been infected with the dengue virus, then WHO would recommend the introduction of the vaccine in that particular place.
This Cheung Chau shop owner said visitors' flow has dropped by roughly 30% ever since the dengue outbreak. His business suffered as a result, and he has stepped up mosquito control measures. This shopkeeper too noticed business had gone down by half following the outbreak. Undersecretary for Food and Health Choi Tak-yi said a special meeting was held yesterday on strengthening anti-mosquito measures on Cheung Chau. Among the participants were representatives of the Department of Health, the Food and Environmental Hygiene Department, and the Hospital Authority. He said the government will rearrange OV traps and look into ways to inform the public sooner about the latest mosquito data and dengue information. Kena Chu, TVB News.
The city's skies continue to be blanketed by heavy haze. The most serious air quality health index was recorded in many places around town. The public is reminded to avoid outdoor activities. Christy Lung has that story.
A heavy haze hovered over the city, blanketing the views at the Peak and Victoria Harbour. The local air quality continued to deteriorate today. As of 5 p.m., the Air Quality Health Index of 10+ was recorded at 14 of 16 stations. The areas included Sham Shui Po, Tai Po, the Eastern District, as well as in Causeway Bay, where some people wore masks to shield themselves from the polluted air. Still, the hazy weather didn't stop some runners.
哇，好辛苦，好焗。
That's how we're trained, said this man who ran 6 kilometers today. As a doctor we spoke with cautioned others from exercising outdoors.
My opinion is to avoid going out for time being, unless the air pollution has resolved. Otherwise, if you got a good lifestyle in exercise, but exposed in air pollution, it is bad for your health. It may provoke like asthmatic attacks, even heart attack in serious cases.
According to the Environmental Protection Department, the tropical depression near Taiwan has weakened the winds in Hong Kong since Monday, which doesn't help in dispersing the pollutants in the air. Meanwhile, the Hong Kong Observatory expects the haze to dissipate soon.
We are expecting a southwesterly air stream to gradually establish next week. Winds will start to pick up next Monday. Hazy conditions should also improve.
Heavy rain and squally thunderstorms are in the forecast for next week. Christy Lung, TVB News.
The family of U.S. Senator John McCain says he has discontinued medical treatment for an aggressive form of brain cancer. It is a likely indication that the 81-year-old war hero and longtime Republican lawmaker is nearing the end of his life. Alan Booknia has more.
John McCain was diagnosed with cancer in July of 2017, but didn't disclose his condition until a year ago. A statement from the family said he had surpassed expectations for survival and decided to end treatment. The son and grandson of Navy admirals, the Arizona senator is a former Navy pilot. McCain has served as a congressman and senator in his 35-year career in politics and is known as a conservative and a foreign policy hawk. He sought the Republican presidential nomination in 2000, but lost to George W. Bush. He secured the nomination in 2008.
I know how to fight, and I know how to make peace. I know who I am and what I want to do.
But was defeated by Democratic nominee Barack Obama. McCain had a running feud with President Donald Trump, saying in 2015 that the Trump nomination had fired up the crazies. Trump retorted that McCain wasn't a war hero, saying, "I like people who weren't captured," referring to McCain's captivity during the Vietnam War. McCain castigated Trump last month for his summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin, calling it one of the most disgraceful performances by an American president in memory, adding he was not only unable but unwilling to stand up to Putin. In 2017, his vote against a Republican replacement for Obamacare helped tip the balance.
And I'm so grateful to the people of Arizona for the privilege, for the honor of serving here and the opportunities it gives me to play a small role in the history of the country that I love. I've stood in this place many times.
Despite a famous stubborn streak, McCain was widely admired on both sides of the aisle, and tributes poured in. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell tweeted he was sad to hear the update, saying, "We are so fortunate to call him our friend and colleague." If McCain should resign his seat or die soon, Arizona's governor would name a replacement to serve until the 2020 election. McCain is reported to have said he doesn't want Trump at his funeral. Alan Booknia, TVB News.
U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said he expects the Fed to continue gradually raising interest rates. Powell said as long as the expansion of the U.S. economy remains strong, rate hikes are warranted. The Fed chairman said the bank recognizes that the path of inflation is so uncertain that they need to strike a balance between being supportive of growth and being restrictive. He said inflation is near the Fed's 2% target. Investors liked his message as the Dow Jones gained 133 points, or 0.5% to close out the week. Powell made no mention of recent public criticism from President Trump, who said he's unhappy with the Fed's rate hikes.
Hurricane Lane has weakened into a tropical storm as it creeps closer to the heart of the Hawaiian Islands. Nevertheless, it's still drenching the Big Island with torrential rain and causing residents to flee flooded homes. Lane is expected to skirt the island chain, bringing tropical storm conditions to Maui and Hawaii's most populous island, Oahu. This comes as a wildfire in Maui raged on a beach near Lahaina. The fast-growing flames forced the evacuation of homes and a storm shelter. Welcome back. The daughter of a British couple who died at a resort hotel in Egypt insists something suspicious is behind their deaths. The travel agency in charge quickly evacuated hundreds of customers from the hotel in question. 69-year-old John Cooper and his 63-year-old wife Susan Cooper both work for the tour company Thomas Cook in Britain. They were vacationing with their daughter and grandchildren at a hotel in Egypt's Red Sea resort of Hurghada. It was here in the Steigenberger Aqua Magic Hotel where their daughter says both of her perfectly healthy parents suddenly fell gravely ill. First, she watched her dad die.
Both my parents were in good health and in great spirits. They went to bed that evening. They woke up the following day on my entrance to their bedroom. They were extremely ill. Medical attention was called for. They was unable to keep my dad alive. They just couldn't help him, and he died there in the room before my eyes.
Then her mother was rushed to the hospital where medics tried to keep her alive but failed.
They then took Mum up in an ambulance with myself being there. She was alive in the ambulance. She was alive when we approached hospital. And while she was at hospital, she died at hospital.
Local officials said both deaths were from heart failure and found no criminal suspicion. However, Egypt's public prosecutor issued a statement saying the cause of the deaths would be revealed as soon as it became clear. Either way, their daughter says something suspicious killed them because it's inconceivable that a couple with no health concerns could both die of heart failure at the same time.
I believe that something suspicious has gone on. I don't believe anybody has entered the room, but something has happened in that room and both to be taken away from us. They died, I watched them both die before my very eyes, and they had exactly the same symptoms.
Thomas Cook admitted it had received further reports of illness among guests at the hotel. Rather than take any risks, it evacuated all 301 of its customers from the resort. The tragic incident comes as Egypt is trying to revive tourism. Its economy is still struggling from the years of turmoil that followed a 2011 popular uprising. A top court in Zimbabwe has upheld President Emerson Mnangagwa's narrow and disputed victory in last month's election.
The court finds that the applicant has failed to place before it sufficient and credible evidence that the irregularities that he alleges marred the election process materially existed. Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa is duly declared the winner of the presidential elections.
This comes after a unanimous vote by 9 judges. They ruled opposition leader Nelson Chamisa had failed to prove allegations of fraud during the presidential vote. Outside the court, supporters of the president celebrated by dancing in the streets. Those for the opposition complained Mnangagwa got away with a rigged election. He previously served as former President Robert Mugabe's enforcer and took control of the government after the longtime strongman was ousted last year. Mnangagwa expressed thanks in a tweet, and his inauguration will be held tomorrow.
The mother of a 3-month-old baby girl who was found dead in Lac Ma Chau appeared at Sha Tin Magistracy today. The baby was found dead in her home earlier this week. The infant's 20-year-old mother faces a charge of ill treatment or neglect by those in charge of a child. The prosecution asked for an adjournment of the case pending investigation results. The defense said the mother wishes to deal with her daughter's after-death arrangements. The magistrate granted the defendant bail, but she cannot leave the territory or contact her husband, who is still at large. Her next court appearance is set for September 7th at Fanling Magistracy. 2 people were injured after 6 vehicles collided on Tuen Mun Road. The crash happened on the Chuen Wan-bound carriageways, leading to the closure of 2 traffic lanes in the afternoon. At around noon, police received a report that a truck slowed down on the highway and a taxi and 2 trucks failed to stop in time. There was also a collision involving 2 other cars as they tried to avoid the vehicles in the first crash. 2 drivers suffered neck injuries and were sent to hospital for treatment.
Russia has decided to compete with Elon Musk by making an electric car of its own. Enter the CV-1 made by Russian manufacturing firm Kalishnikov. It's best known for its iconic AK-47 assault rifle. Its retro design was inspired by a Soviet hatchback popular back in the 1970s. It can travel 350 kilometers on a single charge. And once fully developed, its speed will be several times higher than current electric car models. The price tag has yet to be announced. And that's our news.
Good night.